Video Game Journals 7. This week, we are looking at portable games, and I wanted to play the game that I grew up with, and that's Pokémon Silver. Now, Silver is actually part of the second generation of Pokemon games. The original games were Pokemon Red and Green in Japan and Red and Blue in America. I believe that the only difference between Green and Blue was the name. These games were created by Satoshi Tajiri and his team at Game Freak. He says the initial idea came to him in 1989, around the same time as when the Game Boy came out, and it was from his love of bug collecting as a child. They turned that into a system of catching, collecting, and battling these pocket monsters, or Pokemon. Basically, how the gameplay works is that we are a trainer that is tasked to fill up an encyclopedia, or as it was known in this universe, Pokédex, with all the Pokemon of the world. Now, we can do this by catching the Pokemon in the wild, evolving already caught Pokemon, giving certain items to Pokemon to make them evolve, or trading with other trainers. This last bit, actually, hold on. Let me finish with this conversation with my mom. Alright. Did you know? How to use a... Yes, I know how to use a phone. Oh. Alright, here we go. That last bit was actually a big point of the game. Basically, if two friends both had the games and had a cable that connected their Game Boys to each other, they could trade Pokemon between each other. The reason there were two different games released at the same time was because the two games have slightly different rosters of creatures. So if the player wanted to finish the game, quote unquote, they would have to trade. Oh, I think the doctor is about to ask us if we want to pick a Pokemon. Now, the original games, well, Red and Blue, or Green, depending on where you are, had their starters of Charmander, the fire type, Squirtle, the water type, and Bulbasaur, the grass type. Oh, Totodile. I never really liked Totodile. Let's see what this is. There he is, Cyndaquil. That's always what I choose in Silver. He's so cute. And Typhlosion, his third evolution, is badass. Another mechanic was being able to battle your Pokemon against other trainers. The Pokemon don't die if their HP is reduced to 0, but they do faint. And if a player's entire team is knocked out, they would then be transferred to the Pokemon hospital to heal them. This battle system was further pushed by the gym system, and no, not where Pokemon go to pump iron. Well, unless you're like Machoke. Most of the towns in the games have a gym in them, and with that gym, a gym leader. If the player beats the leader, they receive a badge, and if they collect all the badges in the region, they are allowed to challenge the best trainers in the game, the Elite Four. Even though this is a little bit of a misnomer, seeing as there's the 4 Elite Four, and then you also have to battle the champion, which usually is one of your rivals in the game. Each gym had a certain type that they specialize in, and this was to teach the player about the strengths and weaknesses of the Pokemon. That was another fun thing about Pokemon. They had types. That is to say, they had an elemental affinity. In the first game, there were these types: fire, grass, water, bug, dragon, ice, fighting, flying, ghost, ground, electric, normal, poison, psychic, and rock. Each type was strong against certain other types and weak to others. This affected the strategy of the game. As a trainer, you only have 6 slots for Pokemon, and with some quick counting, that shows that we can't have every type of Pokemon on the team. This let the player choose their favorite and train them till they found their best unbeatable team to go up against the Elite Four. Ooh, and here we actually have one of my first Pokemon battles. You had buff and debuff moves as well as attack moves. Leer being something that obviously lowers defense, as we just read, and then my Tackle being my first attack move. Obviously, Cyndaquil being a fire type, you would eventually get flame moves. When I played this previously as a kid and had Typhlosion, my favorite move was Flame Wheel. Just becoming a big flaming wheel of death to knock out anything in front of me. Were these systems something that caught on? Was it popular? Well, let's look at how the franchise has done since its first release. And I have a little list here. Since Red and Green's release in 1996, there have been, in total, 33 main title games, over 50 spin-off games, a trading card game, multiple manga series, an anime series with 23 seasons and over 1,000 episodes, toys, clothes, books, a series of movies, and an incredibly popular AR game on phones. All of this with over $90 billion in total revenue. So yeah, I'd say it was pretty popular. And here we see me getting lost. Not being able to find Mr. Pokemon's house. Probably because I wasn't actually paying attention when Dr. Elm or Professor Elm, told me where to go. Let's see how long it takes me to figure this out. You see that little animation and how Cyndaquil's health's going back up? I think this was a mechanic that was introduced into the second generation of Pokemon games. Basically, you could have a Pokemon hold an item. Now, this was a way to get certain Pokemon to evolve if you gave them a certain type of scale or stone. But also, they could hold berries like Cyndaquil just did and heal themselves if they got too low on health. The only other item I can rarely think of is one called XP Share that you get later on. Basically, when you give a Pokemon that item, they also receive a portion of whatever experience you get during battles. It was a good way to train multiple Pokemon at the same time. I should say that I won't actually be catching any Pokemon during this video. I'll explain fully later, but for right now I'll just explain how the catching system worked. Basically, you would run into a Pokemon out in the wild. You would weaken them with your own Pokemon, getting their health down to the yellow section of the bar at least, and then you would be able to throw a Pokeball at it for the chance of catching it. The rarity of the Pokemon usually kind of determined how successful your throw would be. Also, there were different types of Pokeballs you could use, such as I think a Dusk Ball is in this one, and that Pokeball works better if you use it at night. There was also the Master Ball, which gave you a, I think, 100% chance of being able to catch a Pokemon, but there was only one in the game. And these games also had elite Pokemon. Silver had Lugia. I think it also had Mewtwo, and the 3 legendary dogs, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. Those were the ones that were the hardest to catch, And the three dogs actually ran around the entire map, and if you flew or went into a different section, they could move. It was highly annoying trying to catch those elite Pokemon. Oh yes, this old guy. This was actually an interesting take on tutorials that this game went with. Nowadays, we have to go through a long series of tutorials teaching you how to move and look around, and it's pretty hand-holdy. But in Silver, they kind of just drop you in the game, and they don't tell you how to use any of the controls. They just kind of let you figure it out. Once you get to the first town, this old man asks if you want to be taken around to show the different buildings that you'll encounter, like the Poke Center and the Mart, and the next route you can take and other things that you might need to look out for. I like that he gives you the choice rather than just being like, hey, come here, follow me around. This would kind of change in the later ones with the tutorials becoming more mandatory, as they did in most games. It's kind of an interesting look into how they thought they needed to give players instructions back then. I grew up with Silver. Me and my starter Cyndaquil traveled all over the Johto region. I had other Game Boy Advanced games, but they never kept my attention like Silver did. I wish I could remember exactly what my team was. I know that I had Typhlosion, which was the third evolution of Cyndaquil, Azumarill, which is a water type, Skarmory, a flying steel type. Steel was a type introduced into Silver and Gold, and Tyranitar, a ground type. Typhlosion, Azumarill, and Tyranitar are still my top 3 favorite Pokemon. And I did find out that Game Boy cartridges are not immortal. My game can no longer save memory, which is the reason why you don't see any later footage of the game, and I had to keep playing from the beginning. It's also the reason why I didn't film any catching a Pokemon. Basically, I could save the game all I wanted, but as soon as I turned that off and turned it back on, it was like I'd never played it. I'm sad that I can't see my old team or play the game fully anymore, but it was really nice playing the game again after all these years. Thanks for watching this edition of the Video Game Journal. Come back next week to see what we're playing. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye!